A vegetable garden that produces half the yield it should often signal soil that has lost its biological life. Yet most gardeners keep adding more fertilizer when the real problem lies underground. Synthetic nutrients can mask the issue temporarily, but they do nothing to restore the living ecosystem of fungi, bacteria, and earthworms that healthy plants depend on. Certain plants act as natural soil healers, rebuilding structure, restoring nutrients, and bringing microbial life back to exhausted earth, often in a single season. Understanding which plants to use and how they work transforms struggling gardens into thriving growing spaces without spending hundreds on amendments. Soil becomes depleted through repeated planting of the same crops, heavy tilling that destroys fungal networks, lack of organic matter, or simply years of use without replenishment. When the living component disappears, what remains is essentially dirt, mineral particles with no biological activity to break down nutrients or improve structure. Plants grown in depleted soil struggle to access food even when fertilizer is present because the microbial partners they need are missing. This explains why some gardens require increasing amounts of fertilizer each year while producing less. The soil biology has collapsed and needs rebuilding. Chemical inputs alone cannot restore this balance. Living plants with specific root structures and partnerships must be introduced to restart the biological cycle. Certain species have evolved to thrive in poor conditions and actively work to improve the environment around them. Phacelia, sometimes called lacy phacelia, or bee's friend, grows rapidly in cool weather and produces enormous amounts of organic matter in just 6 to 8 weeks. This annual thrives in poor soil and sends out delicate roots that create space for air and water while hosting beneficial bacteria. The feathery purple-blue flowers attract pollinators and beneficial insects, including parasitic wasps that control garden pests, making Phacelia valuable both above and below ground. Planted in early spring or late summer, broadcast seeds over bare soil, rake lightly, and water until germination occurs within a week. Phacelia tolerates frost and grows vigorously in temperatures that would stall many other cover crops, making it ideal for gardeners in northern regions or anyone wanting to improve soil between seasons. When plants reach full bloom, cut them down before seed formation and either compost the material or turn it directly into the soil where it decomposes quickly due to high nitrogen content. Research from European universities shows Phacelia biomass breaks down in half the time of many grains, releasing nutrients rapidly for subsequent crops. The root system, though not particularly deep, creates a fine network that improves soil texture and supports earthworm activity. One planting can transform crusty, compacted surface soil into a softer, more workable medium. Hairy vetch, a cold, hardy legume, continues fixing nitrogen through winter in many climates and provides ground cover that prevents erosion during heavy rains. This vining plant establishes in fall, survives freezing temperatures, and resumes vigorous growth in early spring, often producing 2 to 4 tons of biomass per acre before summer crops need planting. The root nodules harbor rhizobium bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen into plant-available forms, effectively creating free fertilizer worth significant money if purchased. Hairy vetch climbs and sprawls, covering ground completely and shading out winter weeds while its roots penetrate 12 to 18 inches, improving soil structure in the critical zone where most vegetables feed. Plant seeds in late summer or early fall, ideally 6 to 8 weeks before the first hard frost, spacing them about 2 inches apart or broadcasting at recommended rates. Germination requires soil contact, so rake seeds in or cover lightly with soil. The plant remains relatively small through winter, then explodes with growth when temperatures warm in spring. At that point, cut it down 2 to 3 weeks before planting summer vegetables, leaving roots in place to decompose and release nitrogen. Studies indicate hairy vetch can provide 80 to 150 pounds of nitrogen per acre, equivalent to several bags of synthetic fertilizer, while simultaneously adding organic matter and improving water infiltration. The dense mat of vetch also suppresses soil-borne diseases by encouraging beneficial microorganisms. Gardeners in zones 5 through 9 find hairy vetch particularly reliable, though it performs in both colder and warmer areas with proper timing. Mustard greens, particularly varieties bred for cover cropping like yellow mustard or brown mustard, release compounds called glucosinolates when their tissues break down, and these substances act as natural fumigants that suppress soil-borne diseases, nematodes, and certain weed seeds. This process, called biofumigation, provides chemical-free pest control while adding organic matter and breaking up compacted soil. Mustard grows exceptionally fast, often reaching maturity in 40 to 60 days, making it ideal for short windows between crops. The deep taproot penetrates hard layers and scavenges nutrients from depth, bringing them up to topsoil levels where future plants can use them. Plant mustard in early spring or late summer, broadcasting seeds or planting in rows, then watering until germination, which typically occurs within days. The plants grow rapidly, producing large leaves that shade soil and suppress weeds. For maximum biofumigation effect, mow or cut plants at flowering, immediately incorporate the green material into the top few inches of soil, and water thoroughly to activate the glucosinolates. Keep the area moist for 2 weeks while decomposition occurs. Research from Washington State University demonstrates that mustard incorporation reduces root knot nematode populations by up to 90% in some soils, making it invaluable for gardens with persistent nematode problems. The rapid decomposition adds nitrogen and organic matter simultaneously, leaving soil ready for planting within 3 weeks. Mustard tolerates poor soil and even performs well in heavy clay, though it prefers full sun and consistent moisture. The yellow flowers attract beneficial insects if plants are allowed to bloom before termination. Winter rye establishes quickly in fall, develops an extensive root system before winter, and resumes growth in early spring, producing massive amounts of biomass that improves soil structure more dramatically than most cover crops. The root system can reach 6 feet deep in favorable conditions, creating channels for water and air while binding soil particles together to prevent erosion. Winter rye tolerates the widest range of soil conditions of nearly any cover crop, thriving in sandy, clay, or compacted ground with minimal fertility. Plant seeds in late summer or early fall, approximately 6 to 8 weeks before the first frost, broadcasting at a rate of about 2 to 3 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Rake seeds in lightly and water until germination, which occurs within a week. Rye continues growing until hard frost, then goes dormant, resuming growth whenever temperatures rise above 40 degrees Fahrenheit. In spring, the plant produces incredible amounts of foliage, sometimes growing waist-high before termination. The challenge with winter rye lies in killing it without herbicides, as the plant is vigorous and can regrow from crown tissue. The most reliable method involves cutting plants at ground level just as pollen forms, when carbohydrate reserves are lowest and regrowth is weakest. Leave the cut material on the surface as mulch or incorporate it shallowly. The extensive root system remains underground, decomposing slowly and adding long-lasting organic matter. Studies show winter rye roots exude compounds that suppress weeds, providing residual weed control even after the plants are terminated. The dense root mat also hosts diverse soil fungi, including mycorrhizae that benefit subsequent crops. Winter rye works particularly well when planted with hairy vetch. The rye provides structure and carbon, while vetch adds nitrogen, creating a balanced system. Oilseed radish, different from daikon radish but similar in function, produces a large taproot that can penetrate compacted layers while growing more aggressively in cool weather. This brassica relative germinates rapidly, establishes quickly, and produces significant biomass within 60 days of planting. The thick white root drives straight down, often reaching depths of 12 to 16 inches, breaking through hardpan and creating channels for water infiltration. Unlike daikon, oilseed radish tends to produce more top growth, offering excellent weed suppression and ground cover. Plant seeds in late summer, ideally 6 to 8 weeks before the first killing frost, broadcasting or drilling at recommended rates. The plants grow rapidly, forming a dense canopy that shades out late-season weeds. Roots continue expanding until temperatures drop below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, at which point they winter kill, decomposing in place and leaving vertical tunnels throughout the soil profile. By spring, the soil structure is noticeably improved with better drainage and easier tillage. Oilseed radish scavenges nitrogen from deep soil layers, preventing leaching into groundwater during winter, then releases that nitrogen in spring as roots decompose. Research from the USDA shows oilseed radish can capture and recycle up to 100 pounds of nitrogen per acre, making it valuable for nutrient management. The plant also suppresses soil-borne diseases through biofumigation, similar to mustard, though to a lesser degree. Gardeners working with heavy clay or compacted urban soils find oilseed radish particularly effective, as the aggressive taproot physically fractures dense layers that other plants cannot penetrate. Lupines, both annual and perennial varieties, develop exceptionally deep taproots that mine phosphorus and other nutrients from subsoil while fixing substantial amounts of nitrogen through root nodules. These showy plants, often grown for ornamental value, provide serious soil-building capacity in gardens, particularly in acidic or sandy soils where other legumes struggle. Annual lupines like Lupinus albus establish quickly and complete their cycle in a single season, while perennial varieties return year after year, continuously improving soil. Plant lupine seeds in early spring after danger of hard frost passes, spacing them 6 to 12 inches apart depending on variety. The seeds have hard coats and germinate more reliably if scarified or soaked overnight before planting. Lupines prefer full sun and well-drained soil but tolerate poor fertility, often thriving where other plants fail. The roots penetrate deeply, sometimes reaching 3 feet or more, breaking up compacted layers and bringing up nutrients. When plants finish flowering, cut them down and either compost the material or turn it into the soil. The nitrogen-rich foliage decomposes quickly, adding both nutrients and organic matter. Research indicates lupines can fix 40 to 100 pounds of nitrogen per acre, depending on variety and growing conditions. The deep roots also improve water infiltration in heavy soils and help sandy soils retain moisture by adding organic matter throughout the profile. Lupine flowers attract pollinators and beneficial insects, adding ecological value beyond soil improvement. Some gardeners plant lupines as a border around vegetable beds, harvesting greens for compost or mulch while enjoying the colorful blooms. Oats grow rapidly in cool weather, producing large amounts of biomass quickly while their fibrous root system improves soil structure and adds organic matter throughout the root zone. This grain crop tolerates poor soil, establishes easily, and winter kills reliably in most climates, eliminating concerns about regrowth. Plant oats in early spring for a summer termination, or in late summer for a fall crop that dies naturally over winter. Broadcasting seeds at a rate of 2 to 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet works well, followed by light raking and watering until germination. Oats grow quickly, often reaching knee height within 6 weeks, and the dense planting shades out weeds effectively. The root system creates a fine network that improves soil texture and increases water-holding capacity. When oats are cut or mowed before seed formation, the material decomposes moderately fast, though slower than legumes, providing sustained organic matter release. If planted in fall, oats continue growing until temperatures drop into the 20s, then winter kill, leaving a protective mulch on the soil surface. The dead roots and crowns decompose over winter, adding organic matter and improving structure. Studies show oats reduce erosion significantly and can scavenge excess nitrogen from soil, preventing nutrient loss during heavy rains. Oats work particularly well when combined with legumes like field peas or vetch. The grain provides support for vining legumes while adding carbon to balance the nitrogen-rich legume biomass. This combination creates a more balanced soil amendment and provides greater diversity in root types and depths. Oats are inexpensive, widely available, and require no special equipment or knowledge, making them accessible for beginning gardeners working to restore soil health. Sorghum Sudangrass, a warm season hybrid, produces massive amounts of biomass in hot weather when most cover crops struggle, making it ideal for southern gardens or summer soil building in northern areas. This tall-growing grass develops an extensive root system that penetrates deeply while allelopathic compounds suppress weeds and reduce nematode populations. Plant seeds after soil temperatures reach 65 degrees Fahrenheit, typically late spring or early summer, broadcasting or drilling at recommended rates. The plants grow rapidly once established, often reaching 6 to 10 feet tall and forming dense stands that shade out all competition. The root system extends 4 feet or deeper, breaking up compacted layers and adding significant organic matter when it decomposes. Sorghum sudangrass tolerates heat and drought well, but produces more biomass with adequate moisture. For maximum soil benefit, cut plants when they reach 3 to 4 feet tall, before stems become woody, and either use the material as mulch or turn it into the soil. The plants will regrow from crowns, allowing a second or even third cutting in long growing seasons. Each cutting adds more biomass, and the repeated mowing stimulates root growth, increasing below-ground organic matter. Research shows sorghum sudangrass roots exude compounds toxic to certain nematodes, making it valuable in gardens with root knot or other parasitic nematode problems. The plant also scavenges nutrients efficiently, capturing nitrogen that might otherwise leach away. A hard frost kills sorghum sudangrass, so timing the final planting allows termination before winter crops need planting. The massive amount of carbon-rich material left behind improves soil structure dramatically and feeds soil organisms over the following months. Amaranth, grown as a grain crop in some cultures, produces enormous amounts of nutrient-dense foliage that breaks down into rich compost, while the deep roots improve soil structure and mine nutrients from depth. This warm season annual thrives in hot conditions where many plants wilt and continues growing vigorously through summer heat. Plant amaranth seeds after the last frost when soil temperatures reach 60 degrees, spacing seeds several inches apart or broadcasting thinly. The plants germinate quickly and grow rapidly, often reaching 5 to 8 feet tall by late summer. The broad leaves shade soil completely, suppressing weeds and reducing moisture loss through evaporation. Amaranth roots penetrate deeply, sometimes reaching 4 feet, breaking up compacted layers and accessing nutrients beyond the reach of shallow-rooted crops. When plants reach maturity but before seeds fully form, cut them down and use the material as mulch or compost. The leaves are particularly high in nitrogen, protein, and minerals, making them valuable compost ingredients that decompose relatively quickly. Some gardeners harvest young amaranth leaves for cooking, thinning stands while obtaining nutritious greens, then allow remaining plants to grow for soil improvement. The seeds, if allowed to mature, can be harvested for human consumption or saved for next year's planting. Amaranth tolerates poor soil and grows well in areas with limited fertility, actually performing better in moderate conditions than in overly rich soil. Studies show amaranth accumulates significant amounts of calcium, iron, and other minerals in its tissues, effectively recycling these nutrients from deep soil layers to the surface. The plant also tolerates alkaline soils better than many vegetables, making it useful in Western gardens or areas with high pH. Cowpeas, also called southern peas or black-eyed peas, fix substantial nitrogen while thriving in heat that would stress other legumes, making them ideal for summer soil building in warm climates. This versatile plant grows as a bush or vine depending on variety, produces edible pods and seeds if desired, and tolerates drought better than most legumes. Plant cowpea seeds after soil temperatures reliably reach 65 degrees, typically late spring in most areas, spacing them 4 to 6 inches apart in rows. The plants establish quickly and begin flowering within 6 to 8 weeks. Root nodules form shortly after germination, housing bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen into plant-available forms. Cowpeas produce moderate amounts of foliage that shades soil and suppresses weeds while the nitrogen fixation continues throughout the growing season. When soil improvement is the primary goal, plant densely and terminate plants just as flowering begins, incorporating the green material into the soil for maximum nitrogen release. If pods are desired, allow plants to mature, harvest the peas, then cut plants and compost the vines. The roots can remain in place, decomposing and releasing fixed nitrogen. Cowpeas tolerate poor, sandy soil and even grow reasonably well in heavy clay, though they prefer well-drained conditions. The plants also resist many pests and diseases that affect other legumes, making them reliable in areas where peas or beans struggle. Research from southern universities shows cowpeas can fix 60 to 100 pounds of nitrogen per acre while improving soil structure and adding organic matter. The combination of heat tolerance, nitrogen fixation, and drought resistance makes cowpeas particularly valuable for regenerating summer gardens or preparing beds for fall planting in warm regions. Combining cover crops with sprawling vegetables creates a living system where soil improvement happens alongside food production, maximizing space and efficiency. Buckwheat planted between rows of winter squash or pumpkins provides fast ground cover that suppresses weeds, then dies back naturally when squash vines expand, leaving a nutrient-rich mulch. The buckwheat flowers attract pollinators that also visit squash blossoms, improving fruit set, while the decomposing buckwheat feeds soil organisms and releases nutrients the squash can use. Plant buckwheat at the same time as squash, broadcasting seeds between hills or rows, and allow it to grow through early season when squash plants are small. As squash vines spread, they shade out the buckwheat, which completes its cycle and drops seeds for potential later germination in bare spots. This approach mimics natural plant communities where multiple species occupy different niches, creating more biological activity and better resource use than monocultures. Other combinations work similarly. Oats planted with cabbage family crops provide ground cover and organic matter, while crops establish tall amaranth or sorghum sudangrass planted in strips provides windbreaks and later becomes mulch for adjacent beds, and low-growing clover between tomato plants fixes nitrogen and keeps soil cool during summer heat. The key principle involves choosing plants with complementary growth habits, root structures, and timing, so they work together rather than competing. This integrated approach builds soil continuously rather than in separate cover crop seasons, maintaining living roots in the ground year-round and supporting constant microbial activity. Restoring exhausted soil does not require expensive products or years of waiting. It requires understanding which plants do the work and how to use them strategically throughout the growing season. Each plant discussed here contributes differently. Some fix nitrogen while others break up compaction. Some suppress pests while others mine deep nutrients, and some thrive in cool weather while others excel in heat. Selecting plants based on garden conditions, climate, timing, and specific soil problems creates a customized regeneration program that costs little but delivers significant results. Healthy soil grows healthy plants with less fertilizer, fewer pest problems, better drought tolerance, and higher yields, making the investment in soil-building plants one of the most cost-effective decisions a gardener can make. These plants work with nature's systems rather than against them, rebuilding the living underground community that makes all growth possible. Try 1 or 2 plants this season. Observe the results and expand the program as confidence grows. What specific soil problem needs addressing first in your garden? Share your biggest challenge in the comments and consider subscribing for more practical gardening solutions.